Back when I suffered with extreme anxiety, I remember feeling like I just couldn't breathe. And I'm not talking about not being able to breathe during a panic attack. I'm talking about an ongoing, constant feeling of not being able to take a proper full breath in. I didn't have a word or a label for it, but I was convinced that I was dying, that there must be something physically wrong with me, and I felt like I was conscious of my breathing the whole time. It was almost though if I didn't pay attention to breathing and force myself to breathe, it would just not happen at all.
Many years later, I learned the term air hunger. And after I was able to overcome air hunger myself, and having spent over 2 decades helping people beat anxiety, I can tell you that many anxiety sufferers struggle with exactly this. And it can be one of the most awful symptoms. One of the reasons it's so frightening is it feels so physical that if you're suffering with it, it feels almost impossible it could be simply anxiety in action. And it's almost inconceivable how you could ever stop focusing on your breathing and go back to normal breathing patterns. Well, I made a YouTube about this called Help Me, I Can't Breathe over a year ago now, where I explained exactly why this happens and shared a simple exercise to help solve the issue. And I've been shocked by the number of views and comments from people and positive feedback of how many people it seemed to have helped. Feel free to go and check out that video.
But because of this, I thought I'd make a part 2 and go into a little more detail about the precise mechanism of anxiety-based air hunger, reveal why it really is a physical thing and not just anxiety, and also explain how to start tackling not just the breathing issue, but the hyper-fixation on your breathing too. Essentially, I want to share the magic formula for how to overcome air hunger. So welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm an ex-anxiety sufferer who found that traditional therapy let me down, and I was forced to uncover a bunch of other tools and principles from other fields that ended up finally helping me to beat anxiety. I then trained up so that I could help others. I've now spent over 2 decades helping people with anxiety issues. Private client sessions, group sessions, the lot. I've literally helped thousands of people to become free from anxiety, and this channel is all about sharing anxiety-beating content to help you, so feel free to subscribe and join this journey.
Okay, so let me share exactly what causes anxiety-based air hunger and the likely reason you have developed it, which is... Sorry, it's my lawyer. Yeah, no, I'm going to tell... Yeah, no, I will tell them. If they've got any concerns about their breathing, of course, they need to check with their doctor and or medical professional. No, I know I'm not a doctor. Yes, they understand that. I'm just a change worker, just sharing my experience personally of what helped me and seems to have helped others that I've worked with. Okay, here goes.
In my last air hunger video, I explained that oxygen is reported as good. We need it to breathe.
This is true.
But then carbon dioxide often gets bad press. We're sold this line at school that it's a waste gas, as though it serves no purpose at all, so we just have to get rid of it.
However, this isn't strictly true.
It is primarily the build-up of carbon dioxide, CO2, that triggers the urge to breathe. Basically, your body is saying, too much carbon dioxide here, better give them the urge to breathe so we can expel it.
In other words, people think the urge to breathe comes from not having enough oxygen, but actually, the body's urge to breathe is triggered because you're trying to get rid of carbon dioxide, CO2.
By the way, this is why freedivers, you know those dudes who can hold their breath for several minutes, spend a lot of time training their carbon dioxide tolerance. They're literally training themselves to not get the urge to breathe as readily in response to carbon dioxide.
So bear with me, because we've got to dive into a small sciencey bit, but I'm going to make this as easy and as simple as possible, and understanding this will totally help you get how to beat this air hunger stuff. The pH of your blood, how acid or alkaline it is really vital for your body to function. In fact, it's so important that your body will prioritise keeping the pH levels just right, and it will prioritise this over and above you feeling comfortable breathing. Carbon dioxide causes your blood to become acidic. It forms carbonic acid. So one of the big reasons your body actually gives you the urge to breathe is because it's trying to regulate your pH by getting rid of too much of this acidic carbon dioxide. Think of it like this.
So here's a water tank, and we're going to use this to represent your body trying to keep pH levels stable. So this line here represents the critical level your body needs to stay at. This first tap represents breathing out and getting rid of carbon dioxide at an appropriate rate, a normal rate, not over-breathing. So as carbon dioxide leaves as you breathe out, the level of pH your body would be maintaining would start to fall, but your body has a bunch of other systems in place to maintain equilibrium.
However, the problem comes if you're over-breathing, breathing too much over a prolonged period. Anxiety sufferers and or mouth breathers, or people in fight or flight, panicking, breathing fast, they end up getting rid of too much carbon dioxide.
So let's represent that by opening this second tap as well. So you end up over-breathing. You're getting rid of too much carbon dioxide. The body goes, oh shit, we're getting rid of too much carbon dioxide, which means pH levels are going to become out of whack. And so, in response to you breathing too much, getting rid of more carbon dioxide than usual, it starts to counteract this with a bunch of emergency pH balancing measures. These emergency physical changes that it implements rectify the balance. However, here's the problem. Now, when you try and breathe at a normal rate, let's turn the over-breathing off, the emergency balancing systems are still in place. The levels are way too high. So what does your body do? Gives you the urge to breathe in order to quickly get rid of what it thinks is too much carbon dioxide so it can bring the levels back down to stable.
In other words, you become hypersensitive to any increase of CO2. And your body is reticent to let go of the emergency balancing systems, because it can take some time to do this, and it thinks you have a pattern of chronic overbreathing. Okay, so what does this mean for you? What's the solution, and why are you overly fixated on your breathing?
Well, what this means for you, if you want to overcome air hunger related issues, is we have to find a way of gradually teaching your body that it is safe to slowly and surely stop using these emergency balancing systems so that you can go back to breathing in an easy and relaxed way without you getting the urge to breathe all the time. Some simple, gentle but regular restrictive breathing exercises, like the one outlined in my last video on this topic, and go check it out, can do this really effectively.
So is that the whole story? Just do the breathing exercises? Sadly, no. And the reason why is the anxiety cycle.
Your brain is like a radar scouting for danger, and it literally puts a big red flag in any sensation or mental image or internal dialogue that it deems as being a threat. And once it's on the radar, you're going to keep paying attention to it.
So what happens is this. Likely you feel like you can't breathe or get enough air in. This sensation is labelled as a threat, or the thoughts, oh God, I can't breathe, what if I'm dying, get labelled as a threat. Perhaps you start making mental images of yourself struggling to breathe forever and having a physical lung-based issue, and these mental images get labelled as a threat. Suddenly, your internal radar of what to pay attention to becomes heightened and covered with breathing-related issues. And so, you end up hyper-fixated on your breathing. And, by the way, what is a common physical response to threat? Increased respiration? Your body preparing for fight or flight? Correct! And additional question, what does this increased breathing reinforce? It keeps your body holding those emergency pH balancing measures firmly in place. Correct!
Then what happens is, because you now still feel like you can't breathe, you double down on seeing these unpleasant breathing sensations as a threat, and the cycle goes on. So this is why you become hyperfixated on your breathing, and why it feels like you're having to consciously breathe, something that usually happens totally outside of your conscious awareness. So learning how to stop reacting to these thoughts or feelings as though they're a threat is the answer to slowly but surely coming out of that hyperfixation on your breathing.
Well, I say that, but that's actually only half the battle, because as mentioned, doing gentle restrictive breathing exercises as well is also important in retraining the body back to normal CO2 tolerance levels. This is why I have found that just treating air hunger as anxiety is not likely to be successful. But just treating it as a breathing issue is also not likely to be successful. The key and the magic formula is to both retrain your breathing and physical response, as well as retraining your mind so that you stop the threat response to all breathing thoughts and feelings. Then you become free from air hunger.
I work a lot with people one-on-one to help people do both of these things at the same time, and often run live group programs where I take a group of people struggling with air hunger and help them with both the physical and psychological aspects to truly help them become free from this issue once and for all. You can check out the link in the blurb below for details as to when my next Free from Air Hunger online program is taking place, and it'd be great if you want to be a part of it.
Either way, I hope you've enjoyed and found it useful, and let me know in the comments below if this helped and made sense to you.